Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And I've got some really amazing plants that I want to show you today, along with a few that you might not have seen before. And I've also got some really exciting growth updates that I want to give you. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So this first plant has been a wish list plant of mine for such a long time. It is a Nepenthes. It's commonly known as the monkey jar plant, and I don't actually know exactly what type of Nepenthes it is. So if you have this plant and you know, please do let me know in the comments. But it's been one that I have kind of ogled over for a really long time, and I've been a little bit scared of this plant. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I just know that typically carnivorous plants are quite difficult to care for compared to a lot of other house plants. I know they have quite specific care needs. And although I feel like I'm absolutely ready to take on the carnivorous plant challenge, I don't know why I haven't done it sooner. I think I've just been worried that I won't be able to provide the right environments, that I might not get things right. I've just got a little bit in my own head about it. But I ended up going to Horsham for my birthday. Ross had planned a surprise thing for my birthday, and it was right next to Hugo and Green, which is an amazing plant shop that I actually made a video on a little while ago. And so obviously we went plant shopping afterwards. And I saw this one when I first walked in, and I was just amazed by it. It's a very phallic plant, and it's one that made Ross giggle, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I've wanted one for ages. I feel like this is a sign, and so Ross very kindly got it for me. And I put a thing on my Instagram story kind of asking how many of you had this plant, what your experiences with the plant have been, and I've heard lots of slightly contradictory things about this plant. So obviously it's very, very early days. I'm still figuring it out as I go. But I've heard from some people that you should not fertilise this plant because basically the pictures here will catch flies and insects, and the plant will essentially make its own fertiliser. And apparently if you do fertilise this plant, then it might stop producing the pictures because obviously it won't need to make its own fertiliser. So I don't know yet whether or not that's a myth. If you know, please let me know. But the other thing about carnivorous plants is they do typically tend to be quite sensitive to the chemicals and minerals found in tap water. I know this is like massively the case with plants like the Venus flytrap. And so typically it is advised to use distilled water with them. And again, I'm not sure if that's the case with this one. I think typically this is a slightly hardier plant. So I am going to invest in some distilled water and just kind of take it from there. But I don't know if that's something that I will need to continue. I'm not sure. But I just think it is absolutely amazing. And this picture here is absolutely huge. And these pictures basically fill with, I don't actually know what the liquid is, but they fill with some kind of liquid, and that is what kind of catches the flies and I guess breaks them down, makes them decompose, and that's how the plant absorbs them. And the other contradictory piece of information that I've had from quite a few of you is whether you fill the jars or not, because I know that the plant does produce its own, what's the name of the liquid? I don't know what it is. It's like some kind of sap, I'm not sure. But it does produce its own liquid. And actually, I don't know if you can see when it catches the light, but this one actually does have, oh, try not to tip it out, does have some liquid in there at the moment, and I haven't filled the jars myself, and some people say to fill them, other people say to just leave them, so I'm currently a little bit unsure. I'm just continuing to speak to lots of you and hoping that I can get it right, because I think it is just such a cool plant. And it's actually really made me think that I would like to start getting into carnivorous plants a little bit more. I think they are just amazing. Obviously, they are such a fantastic way of naturally controlling pests in your home, particularly things like fungus gnats. And if I could do a more of a natural method and kind of create a more symbiotic relationship in my home by having carnivorous plants, then I would 100% want to do that. So I'm thinking maybe this is the start of a new obsession, but I don't know. Let's see how I get on with this one first. But yeah, it's just making me really happy. I feel really, really lucky to own it. I'm hoping it continues to grow beautifully for me. But yeah, I'll come back to it in a month or two and I will let you know. But then this one's another one that I haven't shown you, I don't think, over here on YouTube yet. I think I've mentioned it in a Patreon video, but it is supposedly a Philodendron bilietiae, but looking at it, I don't think it is a pure bilietiae. I kind of feel like it might have some Atabapoense in there or something, so I think it's probably a hybrid. But this plant was actually very kindly given to Emma to give to me at the Birmingham plant swap by somebody. I don't know who this person is. This person apparently wanted to remain anonymous. So if you're watching this video, thank you so much. I love this plant and I think it is just beautiful. But yeah, I'm just a little bit baffled as to what it is, because obviously it does have a lot of the bilietiae features. It's got those gorgeous length in its leaves. It's quite kind of lance shaped and it's really, really lovely, but obviously the back of its leaves and its stems are really, really purpley. And also the size of the foliage is a lot smaller than I would think a bilietiae at this kind of, I was going to say at this level. Obviously it comes down to things like growing conditions and light and all that sort of stuff, but I would have thought that a bilietiae at this size would have developed slightly bigger foliage. So it's a bit of a mystery plant for me at the moment, but I'm really intrigued to find out more about it. If any of you know or have any theories, again, please let me know. But I obviously am very familiar with Philodendron as a hybrid. I've got lots and lots of Philodendron in my collection, and although I've never owned this plant before, I'm kind of treating it in the same way as some of my hardier philodendrons, just because I know you can't always tell, but just from feeling it and looking at its structure, it does seem quite robust and hardy, and not like the varicosum, for example. It doesn't feel quite as sensitive. That's just what my gut is currently saying. Whether or not that's the truth, I guess we will find out. But I have put it into semi-hydro. It came potted in soil, and I made the transfer, I think about 3 weeks ago now, and I've just got a little reservoir at the bottom of the pot. And so far it seems happy. Obviously, again, this is one that it is very early days with, so I think it would be useful to figure out exactly what the plant was, and if it is a hybrid plant, what it's got in it, because then I feel like I'll know how to best bring out the potential of the plant. But yeah, I just think it's so cool. It's obviously not on a moss pole or staked or anything like that at the moment, and it probably should be, but I kind of just like the random way in which it's growing. Like, I don't know, it's just quite funky and weird, and if it just continued to kind of grow upwards in kind of a bushy way, I wouldn't be mad about that. I think that's quite cool. So yeah, my plans for this plant currently, I don't know. As I say, I'm just figuring it out, but it's one that's making me really happy, and it's one that I've kept looking back at over this past month, that I've just kept coming back to and thinking about a lot and wondering what it could be. Oh, it's also getting ready to give me a new leaf, which will be, I think, the first new leaf it's given me since I've had it. So that's very exciting. Oh, it's got another one. It's got another one. Oh, this is a very exciting plant. But yeah, as I say, if you know anything more about it, please let me know. And yeah, again, I'll keep you updated with it. And if you watched my birthday unboxing video, then you will have seen this plant, but it is potentially one of the ones in my collection that's exciting me the most at the moment. It is the Philodendron pinnatilobum, and it's also, since I've had it, which has only been a couple of weeks now, it's just given me that beautiful new little leaf that I am so, so happy with. And I said it at the time when I first unboxed this plant, but there is definitely something about this philodendron that is quite anthurium-y, like from the shape of its leaves to just kind of the texture of the plant. Like, it feels much more robust than a lot of philodendrons typically do. And it's one that I'd wanted for a really long time. And I don't know if it's considered kind of particularly rare where I'm from, but it's definitely not the easiest plant in the world to get hold of. So I got this one as a rooted cutting, and again, I've got it into semi-hydro. And I don't know if you can really see because it's quite steamy in there, but its root system has taken really, really well, and it's giving me some gorgeous root growth. So I feel like the plant is adjusting well to my environment, and obviously the fact that this new leaf has just unfurled with no damage at all is a really good sign, because sometimes when you get cuttings, obviously they are a little bit more vulnerable and they can take a while to acclimate, and this one, touch wood, so far has given me no grief at all. I'm keeping it in my big cabinet over there, and yeah, it's one again that I keep going back to and I keep looking at, and I know you shouldn't kind of be touching them all the time and you should really just leave them alone. I'm finding it really hard with this plant because it's one that I just want to be looking at all the time, and I want to be feeling it, and I want to, I don't know, I just want to like get all the updates on it. So yeah, I think the reason that I can't stop touching it as well is just because it just feels so unusual. I don't know how will you be able to see like the texture of the back of the leaf, but the veination is it's almost a little bit similar to the Anthurium veitchii, the king Anthurium. It's just got those gorgeous kind of ruffles going down its leaves. So yeah, I'm just really excited for this one. I'm so excited to see how it grows. I think I probably will get it onto a moss pole quite soon because I can see at the bottom there, it's already starting to give me some gorgeous little aerial roots. So I think it would definitely help the plant to size up if I did get it onto a moss pole. I'm trying to get all of my plants to size up so much at the moment, and I am running out of room a little bit, especially considering Ross is moving in quite soon. I'm gonna have to think practically about how, I don't know, maybe I change things up in my plant collection a little bit to create more space, because there's not many that I want to part with. I know I did make a video about plants that I was thinking about getting rid of recently, but apart from them, I'm so attached to my plants, and yeah, this is one that I know has the potential to get pretty big, is what I'm saying, and I think could be quite a fast grower. So yes, we will see. But yeah, hopefully next time I show you it will have started giving me even more growth. I will be getting it onto a moss pole and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's one that's just really exciting me. And these next ones, I'll have to put a couple of clips in because they're so big and so heavy, it would not be easy to fit them on the screen for this video. But my Euphorbias this last month have just started giving me the most insane amount of growth. I've got my standard Euphorbia acrorensis, and then I've got my variegated Euphorbia over by the window. And it's weird actually, because all summer, they didn't really seem to grow that much. But if you look at the top section of growth on them, you can see what's new growth. You can see the pale kind of softer sections, and that has literally happened in the last 4 weeks. I know that sounds crazy, but once they do start having a growth spurt, these plants, I've said it before, they look like cacti and they grow like philodendrons. They are so fast to grow. And although, like I just said, they look like cacti, they're actually not. They are succulents. So I think that is why they are super speedy. But the new growth on them is it's exciting me so much. I love how their little prickly bits, their spikes, their spines, I don't know what the official term is, but I love how they come in so soft and delicate, and then you can just kind of slowly feel them hardening off. I don't know, they make me so happy. But as you can tell, again, these are ones that are getting so big. And I've had them both since they were really quite small. Like my big one that's kind of really branched out there, my Euphorbia acrorensis, I've had that plant since it was about that big. And that was only a couple of years ago. So it's given me insane growth in the time that I've had it. And then the variegated Euphorbia, I got in an order I did from House of Kojo, which was, I want to say getting on for around about 2 years ago now. I think it was the first ever unboxing I did on my YouTube channel. And again, it was only about that big. I could very easily just pick it up and hold it. And it's giving me amazing growth. And it's also, as you can see at the top, starting to branch again. And I don't know how that's going to work in terms of like the plant balancing its own weight. I don't know if I'm going to be able to just let it grow like that, or if I might need to chop and propagate it. But yeah, I'm just hoping that they keep going, because I mean, considering as well the weather is now getting a little bit colder, the hours of light are becoming much less, I kind of thought that this is the time that they might start to, I don't know, not grow as much for me anymore. And ironically, this is the time they're kicking into action more than ever. So yeah, I'll let you know how they do. And in fact, I've got them just by one of my window boxes there, and I feel like that's quite a good measuring tool. I can see that they come to just underneath that at the moment. So maybe I'll look back in a couple of months and see how much they've grown compared to that. And then this one is a philodendron that I previously wasn't familiar with, but you guys identified it for me. And apparently it is a Philodendron camposportoanum, camposportoanum, something like that. I'll put the name on the screen. But this is one that I got in a mixed bunch. I've got some other philodendrons down there, as you can see, but I got it in a mixed bunch on the free table from the last London plant swap. And yeah, I didn't know what was in there. There were just loads of wet sticks in there at the time. And this one has just kicked into action. And as you can see, it's getting really big, really fast. So it's obviously an incredibly speedy philodendron. But I just love how it's got those gorgeous kind of glossy, velvety leaves. But it's also got a really unusual shape to them. They're almost a little bit similar to the Philodendron scormiferum. And the scormiferum is actually a philodendron that I've never got on particularly well with, and I've kind of tried to make myself like over the years because I look at other people's and I think it looks really cool. But whenever I've got it in my collection, for some reason, I just don't feel the same way about it. So this one's one that I feel it just kind of has all the components that I like of other types, but it ticks boxes for me in a way that the others don't. So yeah. And I've currently got this one in my bedroom cabinet, which has very high levels of humidity. And I've said it before, but it's kind of more like a terrarium, that cabinet, than it is a cabinet, because it doesn't have any fans running in there. It's completely sealed. It gets very warm, and the humidity in there most days is above 90%, which is pretty insane. And as you can see, the aerial roots on this one are just kicking off. So again, I think it's one that would do very well if I put it onto a moss pole. So that's another thing that I need to do. But I can obviously see that it is growing, not like, I don't think sparse is the right word, but obviously the internodal spacing is quite big. So I think if I was to get this plant onto a moss pole and try and get like a bigger, fuller plant going, I'd probably want to take some cuttings and pot up several sections of it. So although I don't want to chop it because I love how it's growing, I think I will probably take some cuttings, pot them up, and then pot them all up together and get them onto a moss pole. And to be completely honest, looking at the aerial roots on it at the moment, I don't even really think I'd need to root this plant. I think it is probably pretty much rooted. So yeah, that's a job on my list of plant to-dos that will probably, hopefully, get done in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's just one that's making me really happy. I feel really lucky to own, and it's just kind of fun because it was a complete mystery plant and I didn't know what I was getting. So yeah, it's just one that continues to surprise me. But yeah, I'll probably do the moss poling of that plant in a video, because moss poles are typically a little bit finicky to make and I like chatting to you guys as I do it. So I will hopefully be doing that in the next couple of weeks. Oh, and what's next? Let's do this one next. So I can't remember if I've shown this one on my channel before or not, but my friend Lottie gave me a little cutting of a variegated bear paw cactus, and I've got the normal bear paw cactus as well, which I absolutely love. But the variegated one is just so pretty. And this is one that I've had growing quite close to one of my windows, which is south facing. So I thought that would kind of be the best possible spot for this plant. But then I decided to have a little bit of a rearrange recently, and I put it into my little kitchen counter cabinet over there. And I haven't sealed that cabinet. It doesn't have particularly high humidity. It's more just kind of like a display cabinet with grow lights. And I put a lot of my cacti and succulents into there. And since I've done that, it's started really, really growing for me way quicker than it was when it was over by the window. So I'm not quite sure, but that spot obviously wasn't that suited to it. And this is obviously much more preferable conditions for this plant. But yeah, I can just see little bits of growth coming in just down there. These new leaves on top are completely new. And I'm just really, really excited about it because I think it's so beautiful and it's so small. It's not the fastest grower in the world, but I'm just finding all of its growth to be really, really rewarding. And like I've already said in this video, I have got a lot of very fast growing big plants now. It's quite nice to have some that are just a little bit slower and a little bit easier to monitor. So yeah, I just think it's adorable. And then another philodendron, I know I've got a lot of philodendrons on this list this month, but is the Philodendron fuzzy petiole. And this is another one that I got from the last London plant swap. And I had never owned this philodendron before. I was so excited to finally get it. And I think it only had one leaf when I first got it. I think I'm right in saying it only had that one. And this was, oh, how long ago was it? I'll put it on the screen, but I think it was only about 5 months ago. And obviously, as you can see, it's grown an insane amount for me in the time that I've had it. And although all of the petioles have been fairly fuzzy, as it starts to grow and mature, they are just getting more and more so. Like, look at the oh, that's a bad angle. Look at the petiole on that most recent leaf. Isn't that just incredible? And like I've already said about the Philodendron pinnatilobum, I just love the ruffliness of this one's leaves. Again, a little bit similar to the Philodendron ernestii as well, which is one that I know I have banged on about a lot in videos before. I just think the texture of its leaves is amazing. And as I say, the fuzzy petioles are just so gorgeous. They're so cool. The one thing that I am a little bit nervous about with this plant though is, I know I've said a lot recently, but since I've moved to this flat, I have really struggled with mealybugs. Like, they're a pest that I've never previously struggled with. I don't know what it is potentially about this environment that they really like, but they really, really love it. And although I don't think I actively have mealybugs anywhere in my home at the moment, they just seem to show up. And when they show up in force. And I'm just thinking, my God, it would be awful if the fuzzy petioles of this plant were to get mealybugs, because I can imagine they just lodge themselves in there. And I think it would be really, really hard to treat. I know my Alocasia Jacqueline had mealybugs a while back, and because that plant is so bristly and furry, it was such a pain. So yeah, I'm monitoring this plant ridiculously carefully at the moment to make sure that that doesn't happen. But I've currently again got this one in my big cabinet through here, and as you can see, it's very, very happy. It's loving life, but it is outgrowing that cabinet very quickly. It's now really quite a big plant. So, oh, it's another one that I should probably get onto my moss pole. Where are all these moss poles gonna go? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not like crazily aerial rooty. If you have a look, you can see a few there, but I kind of feel like obviously it is a climbing plant and it would benefit from a pole. But then again, I know there are some other types of philodendron that can do okay with stakes. I don't know. Like any of you that have this plant, do you pole it? Do you stake it? What do you do? But yeah, it's just one that I'm loving so much. I feel so happy to finally own this plant. I feel really proud of this plant. I'm loving watching it grow. Yeah, it's an all-round winner for me. It's one that is a constant favourite in my collection at the moment, and I feel really, really lucky to have. And I genuinely never thought that I would have this plant on a favourites list, because previously it's one that I've really struggled with, and I actually got rid of the bigger mother plant a while ago. But it is the Epipremnum skeleton key. And I actually got this plant originally from Emma, and I wanted to try and get it to size up. I wanted to get it to produce those gorgeous skeleton key, kind of like iconic shaped leaves. And I really struggled with that. I think I got maybe 2 skeleton key leaves in the time that I was growing that plant on a pole. And I took some cuttings and I sent a lot of the plant out. I chopped up the mother plant, but I took some cuttings and I'm currently just, again, growing them in semi-hydro. And I propagated them and it's just started vining. It just kind of more like, I say standard Epipremnum, kind of like in the way that a pothos plant would. And although it hasn't got that skeleton key form, it's almost actually similar, more similar, sorry, to the Cebu Blue. I'm just really enjoying growing it this way. And now that I have essentially given up trying to achieve its larger form, I'm quite happy just keeping this as a trailing plant. I think it looks really pretty. I love the length of the leaves. I just think it's really lovely in this form. And as I say, I know if you do want to get it to size up, you need to get it onto a moss pole. It needs lots of micronutrients. It needs fairly high light. And I was kind of doing all those things before, but I think I just kind of lost interest in growing it that way, which made me feel like I didn't love the plants. But now I'm growing it like this, I really love the plants again. So yeah, I'm just finding it really rewarding to grow. It is so ridiculously easy to care for. It's currently actually growing on top of my cabinet, which is quite a low light spot, and it's still putting out lots of lovely growth. Because it's so quick as well, I think I will be able to train it quite easily if I want to kind of train the vines to go across the wall or anything like that. And I just think because they are so small and delicate, that would look really, really nice. So yeah, as I say, when I chopped up the mother plant and got rid of that, I never thought that this plant would be in a favourites video. But I'm just really loving it like this. So yeah, I think I might even chop and propagate it again. I'm kind of regretting giving all those cuttings away now because I would love to get a really full plant going of it like this. But as I say, it's very quick to grow and I'm sure I will be able to do that relatively easily if I want to. But yes, I think it's lovely. And I'm so happy to be able to put this plant back in one of my favourites videos. It might not be the original, but it's still a favourite. It is the Peperomia Hope, and this is another one that I got in my birthday plant order that I unboxed in my unboxing video. And already since I've had it, it has put out quite a bit of new growth, and I only filmed that a couple of weeks ago, if that. And the Peperomia Hope, if you've watched my other videos, especially my older videos, you'll know it's a plant that is just like a constant favourite in my collection. It's one that I adore. I just love everything about it. I love the delicate shape of its leaves. I love how robust and succulent it is. And I, on the whole, never encountered issues with my Peperomia Hope previously, but then almost overnight, I don't know what happened, and I've actually just lifted it out of its pot, so have a look at the roots. But a lot of you said that you had a similar experience as well. I think it's obviously a plant that is very, very susceptible to root rot, and I think I just was not on top of monitoring my plants in the way that I should have been. I think I just got a little bit, I don't know, a little bit too relaxed with how well I thought I knew this plant. And I think what probably happened is I overwatered it, it got root rot, and I just didn't notice. I didn't notice quick enough because all of the main kind of stems of the plant completely disconnected from the root system. And I was looking at it and I was going, why is it looking so flat? Like, what's going on? I felt the soil. I was like, oh, the soil's dry, give it a water. And when I actually got it down, because it was hanging, I got it down and I looked at it and I was like, oh God, I feel like the damage is done. And I am propagating quite a few sections from my original plants, but in my experience, it is just quite a difficult plant to propagate. I haven't had a huge success rate. I've lost about 6 or 7 sections already that have just rotted and the foliage has fallen off. And the only one so far that I've got to root is just in water, and that one, touch wood, at the moment seems to be doing well. I've got another couple of sections in a propagation box and fingers crossed that works. But yeah, water has been so far the only way that I've managed to get it to work. But what I'm probably thinking is, assuming those other sections take, I will pot them all up together and I will get a lovely full plant going and hopefully try and get my lovely big plant back, because it's one that brought me so much joy. And I think, like, I know when I said that I was losing that plant, some of you in the comments were saying, oh, why don't you just get a new one? Just get a new one. And I was like, I know I could, but it's something, there's something about when you've nurtured a plant from such a little thing, it's not about the type of plant always, it's about the plant. And so I was just sad to lose that plant. But as I say, nevertheless, this one is making me really happy. I'm so happy to have it again. And yeah, I'll let you know how the cuttings do. Like, if any of you have got a better way of propagating them, I feel like a lot of people would be very interested to know. I get questions about this all the time and I don't feel like I'm in the position to give out good information on how to do it because my success rate has been so low. So again, drop me a comment, let me know down below. But yeah, I think it's just adorable. And then finally, I know I give you updates on this plant a lot, but I feel like now that I know this plant and now that it's growing well for me, there's just a lot going on with it. It is my variegated Alocasia frydek, which I'm getting better at rotating. So it's starting to have more kind of 360 growth. But this plant just amazes me. Like, I love how different each of its leaves are. I love the variegation on its leaves. And it gave me this little leaf the other day, which is so different to the rest. It almost just looks like it's been like block painted, whereas some of the others are a lot more splashed and kind of dapperly. And the thing that I love a lot about this plant, but the thing that I really love is just that you don't know what you're gonna get. Like, I often get full moon leaves, I mean pretty much full moon, like that are completely white. They usually last for a few weeks, a month if you're lucky, and then obviously because they don't really contain any chlorophyll, they will die back. They look lovely for the time that they're there. But the balance of variegation is just so unpredictable. And I know with other plants, other variegated plants, like for example, the Monstera albo, often if you get like a leaf that is almost completely green, then that is often the start of the plant essentially reverting. And this plant has kind of reverted for me in the past. It was one of the big struggles that I had with the plant when I was figuring it out. And it gave me a completely green leaf and I thought I'd lost the variegation, but obviously the variegation in this plant is stable. That doesn't really mean anything. So it has just given me a beautiful balance ever since then. And I did actually film a care video on this plant a little while ago, and I went back to edit it and the audio was, I don't know what was going on, but the audio was just awful, so I didn't end up posting it. But if you would like a care video on this plant, I finally feel like I'm able to say I'm in a good position to be able to potentially give you some tips, because it was so difficult for me for such a long time. But now that I've struck the right balance with it, I don't want to jinx it, but it's probably one of my easiest alocasias. It's one that I really don't do a lot to. It's just looking beautiful and it is my pride and joy plant. So yeah, if you want to see a care video on that, do let me know and I will refilm it. But yeah, those are the ones, I say this month, obviously some of them I've acquired over this month, but those are the ones that have brought me the most joy in the last 30 days. And just some that I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, I'll be sure to keep you updated with all of them. As always, do let me know down below what some of your favourite plants this month have been. Some that are giving you grief as well, because I know I've had quite a few moments this month of just plant care not feeling the way that it should usually, well, I usually think it should feel. Things have been a little bit overwhelming at times. I've had lots going wrong. I've had some plants that I feel like giving up on. But these ones have been making it worth it. They've been making me very happy. So yeah. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.